combine harvester is a revolutionary piece of technology. It is over a $2 billion industry today, and without it, we pretty much wouldn't have any food. We wouldn't have any grain harvest. We wouldn't have any grains or any of that type of food. You might wonder where the innovation of a combine started. Well, the innovation started in 1786 with the first threshing machine being built, which got rid of all the manual labor needed to thresh any grain crops. And that, over the years, evolved from being horse-drawn to having its own engine. And then by 1835, Hiram Moore invented the first combine harvester. It was named the combine harvester because it combined the three jobs of harvesting, which is the reaping, the threshing, and the winnowing of grain crops. So that happened. He patented it. He patented the first combine, and by 1839, he made a full-size prototype and harvested 50 acres within the first year. And that was a big innovation and really revolutionized how grain crops were harvested. Previous combines were ox or horse-drawn, and after World War II, tractor-drawn combines started popping up, and they were a lot more efficient, gas-powered machines that could really get a more effective job done without having to worry about the animals or anything. Then, in 1911, Holt Manufacturing created the first self-propelled combine. In 1923, Sunshine Auto created the first center-fed combine in Australia. And in the late 1930s, Thomas Carroll, who was working for Massey Harris, perfected the design of the self-propelled combine harvester and also created a lightweight model that gained prominence in the 1940s. So, yep, that was another revolutionary era. Then from 1952 to 1953, Europe had their first self-propelled harvesters, and Claas was developed one in 1953, which is a very popular combine brand today. The Claas, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but the Claas self-propelled combine, which was the Hercules, could harvest 5 tons per day, which was a lot for back then. In the late 1960s, the self-cleaning rotary screen was invented, which helped with a lot of the overheating issues of the previous harvester designs. It increased the airflow needed to keep the engine cool. The last significant design improvement was in 1975 when New Holland created the first rotary separation technique, which instead of using a shaker, used a rotor to separate the crop from the stalk. And that was another great revolution. A lot more innovations in technology were added after this, like GPS, self-tracking, sensors, all that. But these were the basic evolution of a combine. And now that you know all this, let's see how a combine actually works. Thank you to Tractor Transport and the History of the Combine Harvester article, where I got all my information for this video. So how does a combine work? Well, a combine separates the grains of the plant, like the beans, from the stalks and the stems and the pods, and does that by first cutting it using the header. Then the header moves the grain along with augers or belts into the feeder house, which is right here. The feeder house moves the grain or the plants up into the rotor, and the rotor spins really fast and tries to separate some of the grain, separate the big parts from the small parts. Then they go into the sieves, which shakes and separates the small pieces or the grains from the rest of the trash. The grains go down into a pan and then move up with the clean grain elevator into the tank at the top. Then after they're in the tank, after they're at the top, the auger can dump it into a wagon, and then that can take it to the grain bin or the trucks, and the rest of the trash goes out the sieves into the chopper or the beaters and is spread out across the field so that it can decompose and add more topsoil and add more nutrients to the soil. Sometimes, like with wheat, you can turn off the chopper and just leave it in a pile in a windrow, and you can bale it up to make straw. This combine sure is one heck of a machine. It's not an X9, but it definitely gets the job done better than our 2388 combine, which is a heck of a lot smaller than this. This is a Series 7 combine, I think. And yeah. Now you've seen how the combine works, let's just do a little tour of this machine. First off, the place that you spend the most time in, hopefully, which is the cab. It's a pretty spacious cab, not leather seats, still cloth seats. Pretty spacious, great visibility. We have the Green Star monitor and auto steer. This monitor right here and the command arm, which is really nice. This thing is really ergonomic. You can reach all the buttons and you don't have to move your arm very much. Everything else is pretty basic. There's no new technology, nothing crazy, no fully automation stuff, but it definitely is great for what we're doing. I'll just do a little walk around. As you can see, the end of the auger fell off, so we'll have to fix that. It's definitely a pretty big machine. I think it's 360 horsepower. John Deere engine, 9-liter. Go up here. It's a 300 bushel grain tank on it from the factory, but with the big top extensions, we think it's around 400. Big fuel tank. I'm not sure how much that is.
I think it's like 300.
And the grain tank. This tank is about big enough you could live in it.
I do.
And that's pretty much it for the combine. Yeah. Pretty cool.